Hello, I'm Jessica Stutzman, and this is the Millcreek Government Channel. The Northwest Pennsylvania Canine Search and Rescue Team is a volunteer group that is dedicated to assisting public safety agencies in finding missing people 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Joining us today to talk about this special organization is canine handler Kirk Hamza and base responder Jane Hamza with their canine member Chance. Thank you both so much for joining me. Chance, thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having us. It's great to be here.
Yes, well, I love having your organization on the show. I think we've interviewed you on the Millcreek Government Channel probably about once a year, because I think the work you guys do is amazing and stunning, and the dogs are just the rock stars. So, and so are you guys too, but I am so impressed with what the dogs are able to do. I love having you guys on.
Oh, thank you very, very much. We enjoy coming.
Well, we provide closure to the families.
Yes.
That's so very important.
It really is, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, what does your group do to find and rescue lost individuals?
Well, we have a group of both handlers, as we said, and the dogs, and flankers, and we're activated through the police departments, be it state or local police departments, or fire departments, and they activate us, and we go out to find the folks, talking to the family, finding out who was on scene first, who knows where, or last seen, the person was last seen, that sort of stuff. So we try to, like Kirk said, bring closure, either through finding the person, which we really, really hope to do for the family.
Okay, and so our viewers are not going to contact you directly to find their missing person, and let you know they should contact you if they want to volunteer.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Otherwise, you're going to want to call 911, the state police, and that's how you guys get going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys have amazing capabilities, and you were even sharing with me some new technology that's come out in the last few years, which is incredible. What can your team do to locate and rescue a lost individual?
Well, one of the first things we have to do is collect information. And usually the state police or the local police are on scene, sometimes the local fire departments. The nice thing about local fire departments is they're familiar with the area, where we're not familiar with all the areas. So they became a viable asset to helping us decide what the terrain is like, where to avoid, where to start looking. But in addition to that, the information we gather from the families and the state police, we, one, have to find out the subject, the age, their health capabilities, their mental status, have they done this before, where have they gone before, are they hunters, did they go to a tree stand, did they have some favorite places in the woods? Depending on the age of the individual, that helps us decide what our course of action is going to be. And fortunately, one of the first assets we use is our trailing dogs. And the trailing dogs are probably the ones most people are familiar with, is because they're given a scent article, and then the dog is trained to follow that scent wherever that person might have gone. And that's very, very important, because that's usually the first line of defense, is if the person has left within the last half hour or last hour, it makes it easy for us to track them. One of the difficulties that we have is weather, wind, rain, snow, and length of time. Now, we've been working with the state police for years now, and they're getting much better at calling us sooner. We used to get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, oh, we've been looking all night and haven't found them. Well, could have you called us at 6 o'clock in the evening? Would have been a little bit quicker. So they're much better at calling us right away. And even if we get turned around, that's perfectly fine. Because a lot of times, the people just show up. They went over to a friend's house, they went someplace, and they're just missing for a short period of time. And that's okay. We're good to do that. But we have a kind of a, how should I say, procedure. Once we fill out all the questionnaires and information about their health and their status and that kind of stuff, it gives us a very good idea of that individual's capabilities of survivability in the woods. The difficulty is with children, they don't have those skills. And also, dementia patients are also very difficult, because they become disoriented and don't know where they are. They know they wanted to go someplace, but thought they knew how to get there and forgot. So we have a number of tools. One of them is this lost person behavior book. And the gentleman took years and years to collect all the data of where people were lost and where they were found. And typically, they find like 25% within a certain range and 50% within another range. So we have a pretty good idea of how far people can travel in the woods, usually about 2 miles an hour. But we also have a difficulty is sometimes Good Samaritans might pick up the individual, either for trying to provide help or for other reasons, and then they take them out of the area, and we don't know that. So we could be looking in an area for hours, and the person isn't there. Now, one of the things about that is we train for that, by the way, and if a trailing dog is following a scent, and all of a sudden the scent stops, the dog looks around trying to pick up the scent. So we watch for those signs. That's the job of the handler, to know what the dog is trying to tell us, because they can't speak, so they give us verbal, they give us body language, and the handler's responsibility is then to interpret what the dog is saying. And that's usually a pretty good indication that the individual was picked up by a car and taken someplace. So that is one of the indicators that we have. But in many cases, it's just a matter of either trailing the person. Then if that doesn't work, we also have ground searchers that will search around nearby buildings, cars, neighbors' houses, that kind of stuff, because sometimes people just hide for whatever reason. And we can find them locally, right nearby. They didn't go very far. And so we always have ground searchers that are available, and we even have mutual aid with ground searchers that help us an awful lot. The Christian Aid ministries are very good and mutual aid with us a lot of times. And if we get beyond that point, then there's also what we call air scent dogs. And air scent dogs are trained to find any human being in a given area, like 40, 50, 60, 100 acres. And that, although that's time consuming, it's usually quicker than sending out a ground search team. Because when a dog is gridding a pattern back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, as soon as it finds the scent, it'll go towards the scent. Where ground searchers don't have that luxury. They have to
Keep gritting.
Keep gritting. So it's very time consuming for humans to do that. But a dog can do that a lot quicker and cover the area a lot faster. So we use those air scent dogs for that particular purpose. And then third discipline that we have are the cadaver dogs. And that's usually the last resort, if you will, or if there was some indication that the person was going to do harm to themselves. And unfortunately, there are situations like that where people do want to do that. So we now have cadaver dogs, which is what Chance is. He's a cadaver dog, and he'll be taken out to basically look for a dead person.
And smaller acreage areas.
Much smaller
too.
acreage, yeah. We have to have a pretty good idea where the person might have been. But yeah, we've done 10 acres with them. They figure it out. They're very smart dogs.
Yes, and so Chance has been doing this since he was a puppy. I mean, this isn't a new skill that he picked up, right?
No. Chance is very unique. He was handled by another team member, and he passed away. And we have the pleasure of working with him. Kirk has the pleasure of working with Chance now as the handler. And the family asked that we take care of Chance, and then his sister went to another team member. So both puppy dogs were taken care of by other team members, and we were just happy. Chance is great. I mean, he's a house dog. He has kitty cat brothers and sister, so it doesn't. He loves to do PR work, and he's got a super good nose. It's been working for 10 years,
When we took him over, the other handler was certified to be, with Chance. He's trained. I had to get trained. So I had to go through all the same training again. And so he's been very good about it because he knows what he's doing.
He's been patient with you.
Yeah, he's been teaching you.
I know this.
Again, trying to read his body language and trying to determine what he's trying to tell me. And that's very, very important for the dog and the handler to know that. My wife had mentioned, or we talked about a flanker. A flanker is someone that follows the dog handler. And they have a responsibility to keep track of where they are, to find ways around an obstacle like sticker bushes or steep ravines, that kind of stuff. and also to take care of communications, take care of where they are. So those are very important things for the flanker. So there's usually a dog, a handler, and a flanker that go out.
Is that because as the dog and the handler, you're so focused on like what's almost right in front of you versus where the
Watching the
flanker
dog.
can see the bigger picture?
That's the whole idea
Okay.
behind the flanker. is
The handler's watching the dog, and so the flanker has to watch for everything else
Yes.
and communications.
Okay.
And they also look for the person too. I mean, you know,
Right, right.
definitely.
Because you may be going this way, well, turn around and look behind you.
Yeah.
You never know what you see in the opposite direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So how do you start determining, and I know we've referenced this book, and like I said, you have new technology now with mapping and tracking and GPS. It's phenomenal versus like what we were talking about coming from paper copies, paper
Yeah.
maps, things like that. How do you determine where to start searching first?
Well, when we do the interview with the family or the fire department or the police, to whoever was there first and collected, we actually have a questionnaire to fill out. Now, whether we go exactly on the questionnaire or we have summarized it, maybe it's more of a hunter that we have to think about, or maybe it's a mushroom gatherer, or maybe it's an Alzheimer's patient or such. So we kind of morph that questionnaire as to it. So that will give us maybe an idea of where the person was last seen. Or maybe they, just only saw them going out the back door, and that was 2 hours ago. So we get that kind of information, and that's where we start our search from. And Kirk was talking about that trailing dog.
Yeah.
That'll take off and help, hopefully, with that first. Now, if it's contaminated, because we've had a lot of people in and out of that back door, such on, we may have to take the dog out a little further, but we still have that scent article to scent with the dog, So we may start out just a little bit further. So.
Is there ever a time where you would have to change out a dog to the situation, or change out, go from the, trailing dog to the air scent dog? Are there situations where they have to kind of morph as you go?
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes because we may have an air scent dog coming into the scene first. Well, we're not going to use an air scent, or maybe we'll send out humans first and do the flankers and the search with the grid patterns and such. But as we get another dog in, that's a trailing dog come in, then we would go. Or also, too, you can have one trailing dog, and the trailing dog's out there for a long time, and they need a break. We have to realize they need a break. So we may switch them out with another trailing dog to go out.
How long are you out searching? Like, you particularly with Chance, are you out there for like 2 hours, or are you out there till you're like, I'm exhausted, I can't do this anymore?
We actually have what we call times, and we may be out there for 8 hours, but as we progress, working as a base responder, as we progress and we kind of hit that second, maybe fourth hour, we may want to start calling other mutual aid teams in, because we're getting the feeling that this may be a very long search, and it never fails. You always activate the mutual aid team, and they're starting on their way, and the person's found.
I know, and
It's a wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
But, we have to kind of think ahead in the whole process, too.
We've been on mutual aids down to West Virginia, and we've been there on the second weekend because
For the
they
search.
weren't able to find someone on the first weekend, and that was usually 2 8-hour, 10-hour, days. We will search at night, but it's a lot more difficult to search at night. One, it's also a little bit more dangerous for the dog and the handler and the flanker. So we try not to do that unless there's some specific reason, like we're called at 10 o'clock at night. Then we will search right up until the morning. I mean, we'll just keep going because that's important. And sometimes we've had children walk out of the house, and so we'll search all night for them if that's what it takes. But we do have kind of limits. We consider a segment or a time of about 8 hours. And after 8 hours, we have to go into our second mode of operation, and then determine whether we have to relook at the areas we already searched, or should we start looking at new areas further away. Now remember I said in the beginning that the person can cover about 2 miles an hour. So when you look about that, if we're called 3 hours later, they could be as far as 6 hours away if they were a younger person and in good health, and we're trying to get away.
And you look at the terrain that they're going through as
And
well.
you look at the terrain as well. You know, did they follow a road or they walk through the woods? Walking through the woods, not as easy as it seems.
Yeah, we're not talking paths or
There's
anything. We're
no
talking
paths in the
over.
woods.
Yeah.
A lot of prickers, a lot of down trees, a lot of underbrush, and that makes it very difficult, one, for traveling, but also to find someone, because you can't really see them right away.
Right.
So,
Well, and you just talked about the safety of yourself and your dog and your staff. What, where, how often do you train? How does the dog train? What all goes into the investment into this whole process?
well, we train every Sunday,
Yeah.
year-round, regardless of the weather, rain, snow, sleet, hail, hot sun, whatever.
There was one time
Oh, yeah.
on a Sunday we did not train. It was winter. We had a wind chill factor of 20 degrees below zero.
And about 3
No.
feet of snow on the ground. We
And
didn't-
no, dogs don't go out in that. We don't. No.
Yeah.
We're not going
So-
to do that.
Are they outfitted with like special coats and I mean, you could probably, you know, I mean, it's kind of cold.
Some dogs don't need it, but
All
we
year
did have some short-haired hunting dogs. Can't remember what
Eli,
Duncan is.
yeah, and
Eli.
Duncan, yeah, they'll wear
They'll
little
shiver in the
jackets,
cold
or
weather.
they
They wear a
shiver.
jacket.
Yeah, they shiver until they get their mission, and then they're all focused.
Then they're all-
Boom,
then they're
no
all
more
business.
shivering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So they're
So-
they're laser focused on the task.
yeah, they are
Absolutely.
mission oriented, and
And also keep in mind that to the dogs, this is a game. We think of it as a task, and we think of it as a, you know, it's something difficult. To them, it's a game. And when they reach their goal, they get a toy. They get their special reward. That's why they do this. So we train every Sunday, one, to keep them, you know, trained. But we also sometimes train during the week, especially during the summer when we have more light at the end of the day. And that way, again, the dogs are continually being, you know, people train at home. We have about 6 acres by us. I'll put something out for him to find, you know, because he likes to do that. It's a part of
It's a
his game. That's what we do.
What is the
but-
initial training when they're a puppy? What does that look like?
we have had puppies, a little 7-week-old silver lab be picked up at 7 weeks old, picked up on Friday, and he's to training on Sunday. Now, training for him is to meet. You hold him, I hold him. He gets used to everybody else. And then he
Socialization.
sleeps for 2 hours during training because he's exhausted just
He's a
meeting.
puppy.
Yeah.
So from there, and we can, they bring them in. We've had others come in a backpack on their handler's back and walk through the woods because she's got another German Shepherd that works with us already, but the new German Shepherd's in a backpack on her back walking. So we take them and they have canine good citizen. Every dog is a canine good
Okay.
citizen right off the bat, you know. And then from there, we do puppy runaways, which is just, you know, they rev the dog up. Oh, go find that squeaky toy, go find, and they take off just
Usually
down a
after the
little
handler.
trail after the handler into the woods, and that puppy's like, I'm going to go get my squeaky toy. So it's called a puppy runaway. We train them right from the very beginning, and then the handler's watching, you know, are their nose up, is the nose down, you know, what are they taking the scent from, that sort of stuff. So the handler has a good idea of which way they're going to go. Trailing dog, air scent dog, or cadaver work.
Okay, so that's like the investigative part. You're
Yeah.
trying to figure out what skill the dog is the best at.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
of course, we also
And-
have to train the dog to not
Critter.
chase after, no critter.
No
Don't chase
crittering,
after the
not allowed.
squirrels, not
Yes.
after the rabbits, not after the mice,
Yes.
not after the deer.
Not
Yeah.
after the dead deer.
Yeah, well,
nothing.
unfortunately.
You
Yeah.
know, no crittering allowed, and so they're trained that way as well too.
And
So-
that's got to be hard. I know I have a rescue German Shepherd, and she still loves the squirrels. So, is there a specific breed of dog that you're looking for? I mean, I'm sure shelter dogs are welcome. You know.
Well, yes, dog that would like a mission, a dog that is like wants to please you in the worst way and wants to have a mission and wants to accomplish it, and their reward. That is the only time after a mission's accomplished that they get that special reward. His reward is a plain old conch. Nothing special, no peanut butter in it, no, nothing. But to him, that's the only time when mission is accomplished. What does he do with it? He rolls on it. That's all he does. He
Couldn't
doesn't
figure
pick
out
it up.
why,
Yeah.
You know, he just rolls on it. He just loves on it and rolls and everything, and then
Yeah.
picks it up and comes back
Yeah.
Like, I'm finished, I'm done.
But we have other
I'm done.
dogs, other dogs that are foodies.
They're foodies.
And some get pepperoni from Wegmans. I mean, we're really talking about special treats here.
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
even sit
So-
down for that.
Well, they're doing a special reward, so I think a
The
special treat from the
special
grocery
reward,
store.
The special toy. We've
Yeah.
had dogs that it's just a braided piece of fleece material, but that's the only time he
Dirty
gets
rag.
it. You know, it's a braided piece of fleece, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but so yeah,
And
they
we,
have fun.
yeah, oh my gosh. And we talked about, you have to search, you know, typically, do you think in the woods for individuals, or are there other places where it seemed to be a pattern?
Good question, because we also do a little bit of urban search, because sometimes you'll have situation where we have a building collapse and that sort. Particularly he and our other cadaver dogs are trained in some disaster work as well. But we also, I forgot to mention, we do train at night. We have some special areas that we're allowed to. People have large acreage, and we train at night. And we have the equipment we have. You know, you have to have lights of some sort, so we all have headlamps and such on. And the dogs have real fancy vests they wear at night that are flash and everything. So, you know, we see them, you know, that way too. And bases got a lot of lights working too. But yeah, we train at nights. And of course, Sundays isn't always good, because sometimes we have hunting season on a Sunday. So then we don't do it on a Sunday, or we do it on somebody's private property.
Okay.
Or we go down to where our SAR-1, our search and rescue vehicle, SAR-1 is housed at the moment, and we train either on that with the equipment that's there. Maybe we do practice first aid, that sort of stuff.
We also go to Penn State Barron too. They allow
We can
us
go to,
there.
yeah, Penn State Barron
very
allows us on, as long as we're cleared, you know.
And
so
same with
some private
Edinburgh
property.
University. They're nice to allow us to. And the good thing about that, there are many distractions, like at Edinburgh. We were there 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we were using a trailing dog, and he had my scent. I was hiding, but I was hiding in front of the student union, where there's all kinds of people around.
Yes.
Well, the dog has to discriminate my scent from everyone else. So he would go up to a no, not them, not them. He'd come up to me, oh, yep, here it is. And then he'd show his trained final response, which usually is sitting. Some dogs bark, but some dogs sit. Some dogs lie down. They all have a trained final response of, this is it. And then the handler knows this is what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's their final, like,
Yeah,
I
this is
found it.
yeah.
I found it, here.
Yeah.
Now reward me.
And that might lead me into my next question. Lots of people, but what else might affect or be problematic in a positive outcome of a search?
Well, the weather is sometimes very difficult, and also the time duration from when the person left. We've had people that left sometime in the middle of the night. Well, you know, the family member doesn't know exactly when it was, or when the child walked away, when the adult. And you had mentioned also urban. We have dementia patients too that sometimes walk away. One of their, I don't know, they can't typify them all the same way, but a lot of them are trying to go home. And they think they know how they're going to get home.
Yeah.
But then they become disoriented very easily, and then now they're lost. And the problem is, a lot of times they won't respond to their name, so it's difficult finding them. But the majority of work is wilderness work, because there's fire departments and other people that can do urban, suburban areas.
Sure.
But for the most part, we do and concentrate on the wilderness areas, because really fire departments aren't trained to do that. And really the police aren't either, although they come with us and because they want to be part of the search, and so
Right.
it's always important for them.
Right.
But the other thing is, if someone picks them up,
Yeah.
then we don't know. So we could be searching an area where we think they are, and they've already begun an hour, so it's very difficult. Also, when you're talking about little children, children like to go where it's fun, it's interesting. Could be near ponds, could be pools, could be playgrounds, could be a friend's house. So we try to cover those areas first, because they're more likely to do that. We use the term probability. It's a higher probability that they'll be here. Just like a hunter, if he's going out to his tree stand, it's a higher probability that he'll be at his tree stand or within that area. So we always try to cover those with higher probability first.
Can I ask, and I was going to say, I'm fascinated by this whole subject and in your organization. Our time is just coming to a close here, but I do want to ask, how many team members and canine members and auxiliary members that you guys have before we close our show here.
Well, it's fluid, as
Okay.
you well know.
Yeah.
But I believe we have, what,
19 active members,
19 active
11
members.
auxiliary,
Auxiliary, yep.
and 16 dogs.
Yep, and the 16, of course, we have a couple in training, so we can't quite count them yet.
They're not
you know.
certified.
But, yeah, they're not certified as, and we didn't even get into the certification
Yes,
of the dog,
yes.
did we?
No. And why don't you, I was going to say, why don't you cover that quickly too? Because I think our viewers would be interested to know
Okay.
what achievements the dog
Yeah,
has.
because we talked a little bit about the puppy runaways, we talked a little bit about canine good citizens, but each dog, once they've decided they're disciplined, well, like Chance, he's a cadaver dog, he's an international police working dog, and he is certified through them, just as
We
your
are
bomb.
certified.
Yeah, just as your bomb dog is and
Okay.
such, so he works that way. The other ones are National Association of Search and Rescue.
Correct.
Is the other certification that the handlers will go through with the dog. Yeah.
And the reason why, if we're doing mutual aid and the search manager wants to know our capabilities, we say, no, our dogs are certified, National Police Work Dog, National Association of Search and Rescue. And they go, oh, I know what the dogs can do. Okay, I can go send them out and do this.
Yes.
Oh, one last thing I do
Yes.
want to point out about training. We also have programs for children
Okay.
called Hug a Tree.
Right, I was going to
And
say,
the
as you were
reason
talking
for that
about
is
that.
if children become lost, we don't want them wandering around in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
They could get injured, they can get more lost, and it makes it harder to find. So we tell the children to find a tree, hug a tree,
And then,
talk to
and then
it, sing to it,
yeah,
hug
right.
it, whatever it
We
takes.
tell them.
Stay put. It's much easier to find a stationary target
Yeah.
than one walking around.
Yeah, wandering and trying to
And
find
So
home
that's part of
again.
our training for.
Have
you
no
know,
idea. So, yeah, we go out to a lot of the children's programs, summer programs, youth programs, that sort of stuff, and we teach the Hug a Tree, and we take the dogs with us, and they get, loved on.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
right.
I want to thank you guys so much for being here on the show today. I learned so much more. Again, I really love having your organization on. I think you do great things, and I just want to thank you for
thank
all the hard work, all the time and effort that you all have put in, again, toward providing family members closure to help them find their missing loved
Thank
ones.
you.
So.
Well, thank you very, very much. We appreciate it all.
Of course. Viewers, again, I hope that you learned a lot during our show here with the Northwest PA Canine Search and Rescue Group. Again, if you have small children, I think the main takeaway message is to tell them to hug a tree and just wait for somebody to find them. Other than that, this is a great organization. Get on their website or their Facebook page to learn more about and support. But I want to thank you for tuning in to the Millcreek Government Channel and learning with us today. Until next time, have a great day.